PC. So obviously, whatever configuration your board and your case have is what you want to do, but just keep in mind where those are. And then if you come to the bottom, you'll see USB 2.0, which has the little USB thing, thankfully, kind of printed on the bottom. So this is a 5+4 pin, so you can see there's one little pin that's been knocked out. And as I will show you later, the USB 3 header is bad. I don't like it. It is very easy to break. I've broken many of these before, so pay attention for now where they are, and I'll show you how to not break it or potentially break it later. Other things you want to pay attention to is the audio connector. So this one is just labeled JAUD1. That is where you're going to plug in the audio for your case. So if you look on the front of the case, you'll see that you're going to have like a headphone and a microphone jack. That's where that plugs in. So if you ever have any problems with that, you just want to check to make sure that it's fully seated. And like most of these cables, they only go in one way, so you can't put them in incorrectly. Now, because we are taking advantage of a SATA SSD as well, we're going to be taking advantage of these SATA ports. So this board has 6, so there's 2 here, and there are 4 on this side. So this is what you would plug in an SSD, a hard drive, an optical drive, that kind of stuff here. SATA is definitely a little bit of an older school connector, and honestly, I wager most builds these days don't even need SATA, but if you do need to connect any of those things, that's where those ports are right here. Before you put your motherboard in the case, just make a mental note of where these various different things are on the motherboard.
Because once it's all in, it's hard to put them all in.
It's hard to see, out, right? Like even with the light, like you're looking around. I mean, look at this. Like there are a lot of little tiny things all over the place. So it just makes sense to spend a little bit of time before you actually really kind of throw the board in to learn where each component is, where each cable is, all of that kind of fun stuff. Let's install ourselves a processor, shall we? This part seems intimidating. And I mean, to be fair, if you do it wrong, you can ruin your entire build and be sad. But if you do it right, you're fine, so no pressure. Here is our 12700K. Now if you look in the back, you can see that because this is Intel, there are no pins. So there are a bunch of pads because the pins are on the motherboard. But keep in mind that if you're building with AMD, it's the reverse. So there are a lot of pins here which you do not want to touch, and there are no pins on the board. Before we install that, we're gonna go ahead and pull our arm back here, open up our socket. Now you see this little plastic protector? Leave that there. That'll actually pop off automatically once we're ready. So we'll just pull this back. You can see that our pins are exposed. So now we want to open up our CPU, a little plastic. Don't grab it by the bottom. Grab it by the side. There's always a little notch. So it's kind of hard to see. It's actually very, very small. But you see this little arrow on the bottom left? That is going to correspond with a little arrow on the bottom left of the socket. Now, the thing with installing a CPU, you don't force it. You set it down gently. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and grab it from the side. We're going to line it up here. And then just be very gentle and slow. Line it up, and then you just let it go. Now we're going to close the bracket, okay? So we're going to close it up. Now to be fair, this one hinges this way. The older Intel and AMD will hinge the other way. It doesn't matter. Just close it up, and you'll see that once you grab it like that, you see it's going to pull that little arm down. We're going to start pushing this, okay? So this is going to require force. This is okay to push. Honestly, you're not going to break anything. Push it all the way down until it hooks underneath this little clip here. Then you can remove the little plastic piece. Congratulations, your CPU is installed and not going anywhere. Patch stuff on the back. Have a celebratory beverage of your choosing. And then let's put the rest of the stuff in, because there's a lot more things we still need to do, like RAM. RAM is, I would say, one of the easiest things to do in a PC, whether you're upgrading an existing PC or building yourself a brand new one, if I can open this package. Along your RAM, regardless of what kind of DDR you're using, you'll see that there's going to be a little notch that's a little bit past the halfway point. This is to ensure that you can't install it the wrong direction. So, if I demonstrate that this is going to be going in the wrong way, it doesn't line up. So I can push all I want, it will not line up. So I want to flip it around to make sure that it actually does work. And you can see, it lines up perfectly there. Now before you install your RAM, again, just double check that you're putting it in the correct slot. So either use that little graphic on the RAM sort of slot itself,